everyone, and welcome to Anime Club After Dark, the podcast that delves into all things anime, manga, and otaku culture related. I'm your host, Alex, but you can call me Senpai, and joining me tonight, well, it's just our poser extraordinaire, Natai.
Can you compare this to an eroge? I mean, teach me the erotic one.
I was wondering where you were going with that. I was like, oh my god. Jesus Christ, Natai.
God bless Daro, our Lord and Savior. The true finder of Steins Gate.
It's like, oh my god. Well, that's actually a really good indication of what you and I are going to be talking about tonight. Yes, tonight.
Damn, I'm so good.
You and I are going to be. Yes, you and I are going to be talking about. I think a franchise. It's safe to say you and I both adore.
Yeah.
And that is Steins Gate and Steins Gate Zero. We're going to be talking about both. Basically the entire Steins Gate franchise. So it is going to be a spoiler cast. If you haven't watched it, I think it's safe to say, for at least the original, we both
it's a classic. Go
recommend
watch
it. Yeah, it's wonderful. So be warned, we could potentially spoil any and everything about the franchise here tonight. But if you're okay with that, I think we should go ahead and get started. So to Ty,
Yeah.
I think the best place to start is with the original Steins Gate.
I think so too.
Now, you have not played the visual novel.
No, visual novels are not my cup of tea, as you may know.
No. The for reference, the only visual novel you have ever played is Doki Doki Literature Club.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a classic visual novel, if you know what I mean.
And that's not even technically a visual novel.
Or, I mean, what
really
you're talking about? It's a
lovey-dovey
lovey-dovey little club video game. You should all go play it. It's wholesome and nice.
Hey, you should all go play it. It's a great romantic comedy.
Anyway.
And if you believe that, boy, have I got a deal for you. But yeah, so the original Steins Gate and Steins Gate Zero are both based on visual novels.
Mm-hmm.
And you haven't played it. I have. I've played both visual novels.
Have you played them before you watched the original, though?
I did not play the visual novel for the original before I watched the original Steins Gate. I did, however, play Steins Gate Zero before the anime.
Oh, okay.
And there is a new visual novel coming out soon. It's Steins Gate Elite, which you should definitely pick up if you are interested in Steins Gate. It's basically a remastered, redone version of the original with a whole lot of new animated content from White Fox. It's completely redubbed. All the music is completely remastered. It's going to be really, really good. And it's going to be available on just about every single gaming platform on Earth. So that's also something that's cool that didn't happen with the original visual novels.
White Fox, sponsor us. We like your shit sometimes.
I'll be the first to say I like White Fox. White Fox does the tortured hero thing really good. AKA Steins Gate and ReZero.
We'll get into that.
So I do. So let's talk about the actual original Steins Gate.
Sure.
The first thing I want to talk about is the first 9 to 10 episodes. A lot of people, and I think rightfully so, dropped it at some point during those 10 episodes because I think even if you and I are honest, it's a really slow start.
Okay, it's a slow start, but as someone who loved the first half of the original, I think it's just a wonderful introduction to the characters and setting up the group dynamic in the show. And sort of getting you invested in the characters, so when shit goes down, you actually care about what happens. And as a good plus, it's also intriguing as fuck because it's the whole first half of season 1 is exploring the idea of time travel and okay, how is this actually working? And now they throw a lot of science gibberish at you, which doesn't really matter because the writing itself is so good that you really enjoy the character dynamics. That's the let's say the thing that matters the most in that part of the show.
I certainly agree with you, but I can't fault anyone who dropped it for that fact because even I will admit, even the visual novel has a really, really, really slow start.
Sure.
I would actually say it's a slower start than the anime, but I don't blame anyone that did it because it seems like the first, and it's been described this way many, many times. It's literally the first 9 to 10 episodes are the main characters pissing about with a microwave. That's literally what it is.
Yeah, but
That's it.
yeah,
They're
but
pissing around with a
these
microwave.
episodes do have purpose. Like, at least
Oh, they
in
do.
my opinion.
Later on, they certainly do.
Yeah.
But it just I have a hard time like faulting anyone who dropped it, because like there was a moment where I thought about doing it too, but it's like, nah, I'm this far invested. Let's just keep going. Something else I actually want to talk about in regards to like the beginning of the original is, I think, at least in my mind, looking back on it, and especially knowing what happens at the end, I actually think that all of the character introductions are handled quite well.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially, I would say, Kurisu's is handled incredibly well, and so is Suzuha's.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it, especially on repeat viewings, the first episode works so well. Like, once you know what's going to happen, because it's sort of like a closed time loop, in a way. It's like super rewarding for like repeat viewing, and the character introductions are just like are handled well.
Oh, and
like the first
you mentioned
scene,
the time loop.
Yeah, but before we get it, like the first scene, like with Okabe and Mayuri, is handled so well in the way you can infer so much information about these two characters from just like one scene. It's like, okay, what type of dynamic they have, for how long they've known each other, and it's just it's directed so well. Okay.
You know, like that first scene, you know almost instantly what the character dynamic is between Mayuri and Okabe.
For sure.
Like, there's very little dialogue in that scene. It's just the way that they look at each other. The tone of voice that they have. It's just so obvious how what their character dynamic is, and like how well they know each other.
Yeah.
And a lot of that I credit to the voice work of Kana Hanazawa and Mamoru Miyano. I think these two actually work. They play off of each other really well.
Yeah, the voice cast, like in this show especially, just like lift the entire material, in my opinion, up. They do such a good job just just being these characters. They just work so well together. And yeah, especially Mamoru.
Bless Mamoru Miyano.
Yeah, bless Mamoru Miyano.
And I love Mamoru. He's one of my favorite voice actors out there. Like, I don't want to be like Mamoru Miyano. I want to be Mamoru Miyano for a day.
Yeah, the guy's crazy, but I love him.
Yeah, I think this is a really well assembled voice cast, and they all play their parts really well. I really would have loved to have seen like some behind the scenes footage of the voice, the recording.
For sure.
Because I think that it seems like they probably had a lot of fun recording this show.
Yeah, because there's a lot of, because there's a lot of like shit talk and just a lot of goofing around and having fun, like especially between Daru and Okabe and Kurisu. It's a whole lot of fun.
And I love the fact that so I got to ask, did you watch the dub or the sub?
I watched the sub, and I'm so grateful for that because of the incredible English that is displayed.
Yes.
I know the dub is pretty good, but yeah, I stuck to the sub.
I want to say that I actually originally watched this dubbed, but I went back and rewatched it subbed. As you meant, like the dub is fantastic. I think it's like definitely a top 10 English dub. For sure, in my opinion. But like, if I had to put a finger on what I actually prefer, I think I would have to say, as well done as the dub is, I gotta go sub on this. But there is one thing about the dub in particular that I really like. They actually added in a lot of the nerd references that they have in the sub are like very Eastern Japanese nerd references. Whereas in the dub, they changed it to a lot of Western references, like Western science fiction and fantasy and stuff. And I thought that was a really good touch that it certainly made it more accessible, especially to newcomers to anime. And it even goes so far as to put a Star Trek joke in the dub.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a scene where Okabe and Kurisu are arguing with each other, and Kurisu tells Okabe, "Could you be more of a Wesley?" And everyone just stops like in their tracks and looks at him. And Okabe's like, "Did you just?" And she's like, "Shut up."
That's cool.
I just thought stuff like that was a really interesting touch of the dub. Again, like I said, really, really well done. If you've only watched the sub, I just give the dub a try because it's really well produced. It's really well produced. Forgot where I was. Oh,
so the voice cast.
I was gonna say, speaking of characters, for just a second.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about how you feel about one character in particular.
Okay.
Because, as we know, he's a dude.
I mean, let's be honest, like, how should I even approach this? It's like, it's a fun gag, for sure, but at least he wasn't, like, Ruka wasn't that useless in the first season in terms of there was some purpose to that character, but it's pretty obvious that he got the short end of the stick in the adaptation. Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, just that phrase short of
Oh,
stick.
God damn it. Fuck you. God damn it. Wow. Fuck you.
I get what you're saying. I really do. And I kind of agree with you. I'm sure we'll talk about this in a minute, but like Ruka becomes way more important throughout the second half of Steins Gate Zero. Way more important than he was in the first season.
Again, we'll get to Zero.
So something else I want to get to, and a lot of people, this is a criticism that some people have of the anime adaptation, is that it's very obvious about 3/4 of the way through the first season. They make it way more obvious than it needs to be that it's based on a visual novel.
For sure, it feels very gamey once you get to that part.
Well,
of
not
the
just
original.
that. It feels like there's like 4 or 5 episodes where he like spends time with multiple characters that he hasn't seen in a while.
Yeah.
And that's indicative of the light novel, like the whole root aspect of, I mean, not light novel, visual novel, the whole root aspect of visual novels, whereas you're supposed to romantically end up with someone. And it's like there's like a 4 or 5 episode stretch where it seems like he's going on dates with all these characters.
Yeah.
And
but I mean, there's
some people that say that takes away from the overall story.
I don't know if it takes away from the overall story because it's pretty much him trying to like fix everything he fucked up. So like I'm okay with it, and I think it's done pretty well. I mean, you still need to adapt the light novel, so I think they did as best as they could. But yeah, for sure, I didn't know it was based on a visual novel when I first watched it. I was like, this feels very video gamey for some reason, and then I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense.
I mean, it's because in the visual novel, you're supposed to choose a romance route. But I'm very glad that they went with what's known as the true ending for the route that they ended up doing.
It's the most satisfying.
It's by far the most satisfying one in the visual novel for sure. It's also it's one of only 2 I can point to that seems the most likely, given how the story starts.
What's the end if you go with the what's her face, Nyan Nyan?
Oh God, that is actually, if I remember correctly, I believe that's the shortest route in the game. Hold on, I actually have a route map for.
Of course you do.
Steins Gate downloaded. Well, I recently played through the game for like the 3rd or 4th time, and I wanted to see if I could intentionally try to get all of the endings. I think I'm looking through it right here. When does Nyan Nyan's route end? I think it's a chapter. Oh no, it's Suzuha's. Suzuha's route is the shortest. It ends at chapter 6, and there are 10 total chapters. Well, 10 total chapters plus a prologue.
Mm-hmm.
Do you really want to know?
No, let's save it for after recording. You guys can look that up.
Fairies, Nyanya.
God damn it. But that's the fun part about the original Steins Gate. You have all of these like super, just a bunch of otaku characters who are just crazy. Let's be honest, but they feel like real people. You know, you get to know them. You get to know like what makes them tick, what they're all about, and it's fun. It's like it's
I think
much
some of
it's
that
much
is,
a story about about time travel, but it's also about like the otaku culture, in my opinion. It's like you explore all these
I think
different
some
sides
of that.
it.
I think some of that is indicative of the fact that it's more than 20 episodes long. It's not like a seasonal anime, so you actually have time to develop these characters and the setting.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's no way you could have adapted it in like 12 episodes.
I don't know. There's no way you can adapt Steins Gate in 12 episodes or less.
There's no way.
But I was going somewhere with this. Something that other people have said about Steins Gate, and I actually agree with them on this, is that so it principally takes place in Akihabara.
Yeah, which makes sense.
And it's actually it's a really good portrayal of Akihabara. Like, it's very true to life in the sense of like how everything is like what being in Akihabara is like.
Mm-hmm.
Like how it's this mecca of nerd and otaku culture, and especially of like electronics culture.
Yeah.
Because I think there's an episode where they're going around to a bunch of different electronic shops, and it's like that's what Akihabara is like.
They literally
Akihabara
live
has a
above
bunch of
an
electronic
shop as well.
Yeah,
Mr. Brown.
Mr. Brown. Oh man, and then he turns out to be a fucking like agent, and it's like, oh god.
It's also that's a good segue to like the whole conspiracy theory part of Steins Gate, which like that's also
AKA Alex Jones writes an anime.
But that's so cool though, because one of the characters is literally John Titor, which I mean we don't know if he was an actual person, but that was an actual digital urban legend, right? Like a guy was like, "Oh yeah,"
that actually happened. It's an incident. I know for a fact it's an incident that happened because I remember it.
Yeah,
I remember
like,
being on fucking forums and shit while that was going on.
Yeah, like we don't know if that guy was for real or something, but a guy named John Tyre literally went around forum and was like, "Oh yeah, I'm from the future, and there's a third world war coming, and that's bad."
And it's amazing because if you go back and look at it, there were like the actual John Titor like predictions. There were some that were completely like they never happened. And there were some that started to happen but then didn't, and then there were some that were spot on. And it was it's amazing to look back at it like now and see, you know, hindsight is 2020.
Yeah.
Like we don't know for a fact that this person was actually a time traveler. We don't even know if time travel is physically possible. I mean, well, it is physically possible because we're constantly traveling to the future.
But you know, I think that's that layer that it's like this story is set in a grounded world to some extent. It just adds to this show as a whole.
Oh, and the fact that the story itself references events that actually happened in the real world, in our real world.
Yeah.
And it's not just the John Titor thing. It's like the whole Y2K bug. Was it? I think there's an episode where they very briefly mention 9/11.
I can't remember that, but maybe.
But like, and it's stuff like that that made it for me, and I think for other people too, a lot easier to like get into because it's like I can feel some connection to this. Like, and for people that were old enough to be around and like on the internet at the time the whole John Titor stuff was going down, it's like a really good thing for us because like we remember this.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool like hook, you could say.
The one thing I kind of wish that the anime had done that the visual novel did, in the visual novel, Okabe actually spends an enormous amount of time conversing back and forth with John Titor over the phone. Like, of course we know after watching it who John Titor actually was.
Yeah.
It was Suzuha.
Yeah, I mean, you could, I don't know, I don't think it's that, I mean, I don't know how it was handled in the visual novel, so I don't know what to say about it.
In the visual novel, the way it's handled is that he's texting back and forth with them constantly. Up until the point he realizes it's Suzuha.
Suzuha.
So
overall, I think you and I agree that Steins Gate, the original show, is incredible, right?
Oh, yeah. It's amazing. I think it's definitely one of the best anime. It's certainly one of the best anime that's come out in the 2010s.
Mm-hmm.
For sure. I don't know exactly where I'd put it in a list of like all-time greatest anime, but in terms of anime in the 2010s, it's definitely in the top 10.
Yeah.
In fact, we should do that later this year because we're getting to the end of the decade. We should
That's
actually
true.
compile like a list of the best anime of the decade.
So, so you played the visual novel of Zero. So when you realized that was the thing, what did you what did you think of it before playing it? What did you expect?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I didn't. I went and played the visual novel of the original Steins Gate right after I had finished watching the anime.
Okay.
Mostly because I wanted to get a grasp of what the differences were, what got left out, what got added in, stuff like that. I After watching the anime and playing the visual novel, I didn't know even after I'd finished playing the visual novel of the original, I didn't know immediately that there was another visual novel. I actually found that out I found out that they were making it like a year after I had finished the visual novel. After watching the original anime and then playing through the visual novel, I got the distinct impression that I didn't necessarily think the story needed a sequel to be complete, or any other kind of continuation or prequel or anything like that. But when I found out there was one, I wasn't disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
Were you?
At first I was like, kind of, really? It felt sort of, I don't know, you had a good thing with Steins Gate, and it was a complete story, that satisfying ending. I was okay with it being done, like, just staying, like, just being one of those shows that, like, run its course and it's done. We don't need to go back to it. But then when I slowly realized what was the premise of it, I was like, okay, I might be okay with it. People are like, oh, it's about like the broken Okabe you see at the end of the original Steins. It's like how it got to that point. It's his story. I was like, okay, if you're gonna do a sequel, that's a pretty good premise. Like, I think I'm okay with it. So I went in with like tempered expectations, you could say. I was like, okay, let's see how this goes. I was a bit skeptical about it at first, not gonna lie.
Okay. I mean, it's fair enough. I kind of had the same sort of trepidations. But then I played the Steins Gate Zero visual novel, and I love dark stories. I especially love broken protagonists.
Mm-hmm.
And that's definitely what you get in Steins Gate Zero, because Steins Gate Zero takes place in the beta world line where Kurisu wasn't able to be saved.
Right.
And she actually stays dead. And you get to see, like, what that does psychologically to the people that were around her. And it's not happy. It's not happy at all. And it's almost like that. I'm assuming you've watched the Terminator movies, right?
Actually, I haven't, but I know of them.
Okay.
It's a hole in my education.
Oh, there's only a couple of them that are worth watching. But there's a line, I think it's in Terminator 2, where they basically say that they didn't stop Doomsday, they just delayed it. That's essentially what Steins Gate Zero is. They didn't stop World War III, they just delayed it. Because even though like CERN never found out about the time machine, the phone wave, mm-hmm. Real name TBA, other people still found out about it, and the same result ended up happening. World War III still happens. So imagine not only having knowledge of that, but also knowing that there's someone you cared very deeply about that you had to you watched die and you couldn't save. I can imagine that would make someone very dark. And
yeah, depressed. Well, okay. So, gonna be pretty upfront about it. I was pretty disappointed with Zero. I mean, you've heard me kind of talk about it for a bit, but Zero was kind of disappointing. And one of the big things that were disappointing to me is the first few episodes, I think, pretty, like, I was okay with how they were going with Okabe, of being kind of distant from the group and, like, trying to just stay away from anything that had to do with Kurisu and what, like, the life he had before that event. But it just I felt like Caesar was like I was waiting a whole season for him to get his shit together, but only by like the last few episodes, it's like ta-da, I'm back, and it's hard because I don't think it's that good the way it was dealt. By the way,
I
we're
would
going
like
really
to point out.
yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was about to say like I'm not holding back now in terms of sports. So if you made it this far, just like if you're okay with sports, then sure. But if you want to watch the show, just go. Because yeah, I have a lot of strong feelings about this show and not holding back anymore.
So you definitely would say that the first couple of episodes you actually did enjoy.
Yeah, but
See,
like
weren't-
let's just say if I had to like I enjoyed them, but with each episode it was like yeah, it was okay, but I had some issues with
Well,
them.
you certainly weren't alone in that, because after its second, I think it was its second episode premiered, it became the second highest rated show on Mal. Like, and I think it was a 9.23, and currently Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood holds the title of top rated anime at a 9.24. So for a very brief moment there, it looked like it would actually outshine Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood after so many years of being top dog on Mal.
From what okay, I told you from the get go. Like I watched the first episode. I waited for the show to be over and then I watched it, and I was like, it was good, but it's doesn't hold a candle to the original. That's what I thought from watching the first episode. Because if you compare the first episode of Zero and of Steins Gate, just in terms of production, like shot composition, cinematography.
Oh yeah, that was
look,
that's definitely something that a lot of people criticized it for, and I think rightly so. So the original Steins Gate was directed by Hiroshi Hamasaki, who is a really good director. I'm trying to think what else. I know for a fact that he has worked on some other really good anime. They all slip my mind suddenly. Jesus. I hate getting old. Fuck. Anyway,
it's not the same director though.
No. And Steins Gate Zero's director was Kenichi Kawamura, who I think is someone who's relatively new to directing. He's been an episode director, but never a series director.
Yeah.
And this is his first attempt at being a series director. I take that back. I'm looking at it right now. He was also the director of Supersonico, which, oh boy. Oh, and Quality Code. Oh God, whatever. So his record at being a director is not great. I will say this. I think there were certain parts where it was actually really, really good. Overall, though, I do agree with you that.
But because
in terms of overall directing, it was very lacking compared to the first season.
Because there are so many moments in the original Steins Gate that just stick to my memory. Like there was this, there's this one animation cut that's incredible of Okabe running. The animation is just so wild and visceral. It's after I can't remember how many times Mayuri died in the original, but it's that scene just still to this day is just stuck to my memory. But in Zero,
can we also? I was gonna say, can we just briefly talk about how much it hurt watching Mayuri die over and over again?
Yeah, that was not fun. But in Zero, there's nothing compared to that. It's just it's so frustrating.
See, one of the biggest problems with Zero is that there's no real stakes until about the 3/4 mark of the show.
But that's the same for the first half of the original. But again, the first half of the original is so good thanks to the character dynamics and writing, which, in my opinion, is also lacking in this version of the story.
I think some of that has to do with Steins Gate Zero dealt with most of the characters were already established. Like, so there really wasn't anything that you needed to know more about them, because assuming you watched the first season, you'd already know all these backstories and all how these characters are related to
Sure,
each other.
but I don't think anyone who wanted a sequel for Steins Gate wanted it just to see Ferris Nyan and Moeka dressed in like Christmas clothes, fucking around and drinking sake.
I mean,
I'm
you might not
sorry.
have, but I certainly did.
Let's be honest though, that's there's so much. It almost feels borderline fan fiction. It's just all of them just hanging around in the lab doing fuck all. And it's not it's not a good. Just because it's fun. It's like, oh hey, it's the characters I love doing the things they do. It's like that's cool, but it just feels very lazy and not interesting. And we touched upon Ruka being sort of important in the later half of Zero, but to think that fucking Ruka, who like that guy from season 1 would be
It's a dude.
It's a dude. That guy would be a katana wielding ninja in the future. I mean, it's a good meme, but
To be
Really?
fair, to be fair,
Ferris Nyan, who still rocks that pink hair, is just shooting guys left and right, and really?
to be fair, war makes you do crazy things.
I'm sure. Also, I'm sorry if this is gonna sound like a nitpick, but it's kind of weird that like a decade has passed between like the present and World War III, and Ferris looks exactly the same.
Actually, yeah, like most of the characters don't look like they've aged very much.
I mean,
with the
Daru
exception
lost
of like
weight.
the three
That's
main
cool.
characters.
Suzuha, not Suzuha. What's her? Yuki looks a bit different. That's cool. Okabe looks different. That's cool. But Ferris stays the same. What?
I don't know. She's got good genes. I don't know.
Okay, speaking of characters aside, sorry if I'm nitpicking, but why is everyone's boobs bigger?
That is something I noticed.
Explain
Like
it to me. I'm so confused.
Everyone gained at least a cup size. Everyone,
I don't understand.
except for Maho. She flat.
Yeah. But gotta check all the boxes that we have for this horror. We need a flat character as well. God damn it.
Hey, fuck you. I
No,
fucking love
But
lolis.
I love Maho, but you see, it just feels so cynical. Oh,
Let me ask you something. Does she feel like discount Kurisu?
Yes, actually, she does, and that's a shame because I was into her story, but just kind of. And speaking of Kurisu, speaking of the big, beautiful elephant in the room, did she really need to come back? Because.
I think so.
You think so? Because I had the very sneaky suspicion that they put her back because she's one of the most popular characters of the original, and you want to get her back just because, for the fans. And it's just, does she really serve a purpose in the story? And don't tell me it's because, she needs to wake up Okabe when he time travels and skips about for like 10 million times. It's just, it just feels so cynical and lazy. Like, okay, if this is just me just like
I'm just sitting
right
back.
now.
I'm sitting back letting you let it all out. Just
Yeah,
go
I've
ahead.
been holding this back for a while, but think about it. Okay, think of a different world where someone would go and was like, oh, I have an idea for like a sequel to Steins Gate. Okay, sure, what do you want to do? Okay, so let's keep the whole part with Dark Okabe. Sure, okay, I'm into that. That's a pretty cool idea. But big red line, you do not cross. You don't bring Kurisu back as a mainstay character at all. Maybe for one scene, and that's a stretch. And instead of, because let's be honest, people criticize the first season for being sort of like the first half being like you don't do anything at all. They don't do anything to the characters, which I really disagree. This season of Steins Gate, the first first 3/4 are like that. It's like, okay, let's go clean her apartment. Let's go have a Christmas party. Let's go. It just feels so like nothing, and it just feels there's no purpose to any of it. Like, I'm sorry, but Amadeus seems like a cool idea, but in reality doesn't serve any purpose. I just don't really get it. It's just an excuse to bring Kurisu back. I really don't see any value in it. And it's so frustrating. Imagine a world where, okay, so the show is really dedicated to like Okabe's like story arc of coming back to reality and trying to like prevent World War III. Okay? So instead of him just being like this fucking this just a wood, like a brick, because there's no emotion there in the show. It's like, yeah, for the most part at the beginning there is, but delve more into his psychology. Why not try and make it so that you can see more into his mind, and it feels like the real Okabe oh fuck, I'm blanking on the scientist's name.
The villain?
No, his alter ego.
Oh,
Hoin
Kyoma.
Thank you. Imagine, because in the show, which also, I'm sorry, but that really triggered me. There's near the end of Steins Gate Zero, it's like Okabe is putting on a show and pretends to be Hoin Kyoma, which kind of ruins the character in a sense to me, because I always thought that he is this crazy bastard, and then he's like in Zero he's sort of putting on like trying to repress that side of his personality. I was like, oh, that's interesting, but no, they're like, oh no, he's just pretending. Okay, so let's throw that in the trash and let's try something else. He is Hoin Kyoma, but he's repressing that part of him. And there's always this voice in the back of his head who's like, you know you fucked up, but you need to get back up and try again and try to prevent this future that's coming. But it's never like that. For most of Zero, it's Suzuha just trying to slap the shit out of him. It's like, come on, help me, please. And it's so frustrating because it doesn't go anywhere. You know, you understand where I come from. I'm not trying to like shit on anyone's parade, because it's great. People enjoy the show, but I feel like it's a very lazy sequel.
Are you done?
No, but I wanted to see what you think of it.
You said so much. Okay, so
don't worry, I have a lot more.
I'm sure you do. In general, I certainly see where you're coming from, and I don't disagree with a lot of it. I loved that scene toward the end of Steins Gate Zero, where like the Hoen Kyoma resurrection scene. I love that scene.
Sure.
I think it was done really, really well, and I think it actually plays it certainly plays into the personality of Okabe, considering everything that's happened so far with what happened in the first season and what happened in Zero with like the Beta World line and
do you agree with me
dying.
That this season sort of portrays it like he's putting on a show? It feels very much like it. Which that was not the point in the original. He was this sort of he was this mad scientist. He was this Chunibyo fucker. He was this guy. He didn't put on a show. He was Hoen Kyoma. That was the point, right?
Oh yeah, I think the whole thing with I think it does become sort of a show in Zero, because you see that when there are characters somewhat like Fetus refers to him as Hoen Kyoma, and he just doesn't respond to her. I think
that's
a lot
okay.
of that
I like that he doesn't respond to it, but then if you're telling me that he's the whole time he was just putting on a show as this Chunibyo, and it wasn't like him really on the inside, that's kind of I don't know, doesn't feel right to me.
Again, I don't completely disagree with you. Mm-hmm. I just feel that I personally thought that like, for lack of a better term, aesthetic was actually one of the things that was handled actually pretty good. Because it definitely shows like a 180 degree turn. Like, if you think in Steins Gate, for the most part, he was this really happy-go-lucky person who was never afraid really to dip into that alter ego that he had created. Whereas in Steins Gate Zero, he becomes like this, almost like a recluse or a hermit who feels very unsafe putting that persona back on.
Yeah, because he wants nothing to do with it after the events of the original. That's why.
I think it's because he remembers what happened when he was like that. He lost Kurisu. I think losing someone like that would certainly change a person.
Yeah, that's for sure, and I totally agree with it. But it feels like how I imagined like the structure of the show being. It's like him trying to like stay away from that persona that he was, like trying to repress it and not be in that state of mind anymore. But then slowly, but slowly not only trying to get back and try and find a solution to World War III, like, and that's like as I thought it would go. That would be like the turning, like the halfway point of the show. But then it was like, oh no, it's the ending. It's like, okay, but the way I saw it, it could be like a journey of like while he's trying to find a solution to World War III and working on a time machine or whatever it was, he's like he would come back like the person he is on the inside. He would come back, but it's sort of, I don't know. It doesn't feel right.
Would you say it feels kind of forced?
Yeah, it feels forced. And again, I'm sorry to like go back and just beat this horse down too much, but it's just so disappointing that this season like treats this personality as just a show and not him. I think it just hurts the character.
It's a fair enough criticism. I mean, if you're looking for me to agree with you about all this, I mean,
no, I'm not looking for you to agree with me. I'm just trying to like, I'm hoping I'm illustrating my points enough that you understand where I'm coming from. I'm not looking I'm not looking for validation. Again, that's good. I'm happy you like the show. I'm just trying to like voice my complaints with it.
You want validation? You should have on the cast we did earlier today with showing Shinoda about fucking rape and anime. You want some validation? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, nah.
I noticed that you very strategically didn't attend that one. It's like, nah, fuck this, guys. I'm out.
Yeah. But yeah,
well, since I certainly get where you're coming from, and I completely understand it. I just don't necessarily agree with all of it. But I do want to talk about something I think you and I do agree about.
Okay.
Even though I don't think you genuinely liked Steins Gate Zero, there's one aspect of it I think you did, and that was the music.
Okay. So. Okay.
Take your time.
Remember episode 8?
Yes.
Episode 8 is when Okabe is transported to the other world line where Mayuri is dead but Kurisu is saved. And I really like that episode. And if I were to try and rewrite the show that there was no Amadeus, there's no not all that bullshit, I would keep this scene. Okay? Might maybe change it a bit, but that episode would stay. But, and again, I love the ending of it, but I'm not gonna lie, because I'm into that sappy shit that you play a really good song, and it's very emotional, and I'm into it, but I'm not gonna lie, it's a bit lazy. And so is, and I'm sorry to be a bitch like that, but again, I love Hacking to the Gate, but that felt just, I don't know, I'm so torn about it, because I liked the moment they brought that song back, but I was like, in hindsight, I was like, is that lazy or not? I don't even know anymore. I'm torn.
I thought it was a great callback, personally.
It's a great callback, but I was like, I don't know.
I thought it was great because he's finally acting the way he acted in Steins Gate, in the original Steins Gate.
Sure. It's a great song, so whatever.
Well, yeah. I mean, are you going to complain that they play the song that you love?
No.
And I genuinely loved the OP to Steins Gate Zero.
Yeah, Fatima was really good.
It was really, really good.
And
the visuals were fantastic.
Also, the last game was a really good ED.
Yes, it was.
That's a good atmospheric ED. I like it.
But just the music in general and like the OST for both Steins Gate and Steins Gate Zero, I thought were just really good.
Yeah, Gate of Steiner is a wonderful piece of music.
Yes, it is.
When they played at the final episode, I was like, yeah, I'm feeling it.
Yeah. And there's another piece of music. It plays. I think it was also used in the original Steins Gate, but it also plays in Steins Gate Zero during the resurrection of Hoenn Kyouma. That scene where he's like laying out all the stuff with Maho and Daru.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, like, first, I love that scene. I love that scene so much. In fact, I did that scene for our redubbing episode, the second redubbing episode we did. Mostly because of how well Mamoru Miyano plays that scene, but also because the music is so fitting. It's like it swells and builds to this really hopeful, like from this really somber melody to this really hopeful melody, and I thought that was really good. And it's moments like that with that kind of music which made me really love Steins Gate as a whole, because like the whole thing is really good.
Yeah.
Because of the little things like that.
Yeah. And again, episode 8 and then they play this insert song called Lyra, and it's wonderful and it's sappy, and it's there are these moments in the show that I'm like, yes, I'm really into it.
Yeah. Also worth mentioning, they used the same, just like with the original Steins Gate, which used Hacking to the Gate. Steins Gate Zero also used a single OP for the entire run of the show.
Yeah, it's a good song.
I like, while I love the idea of being able to like enjoy more and more OPs, I also think there's some shows like this where you really shouldn't change the OP once it starts.
Sure.
I think that longer running character driven shows shouldn't change their OPs. And I don't know why I think that. I just don't think it should happen.
I mean, if we want to get to like marketing and stuff, it does make sense every once in a while to change the OP. It's like, and promote, it's like, hey, this new popular band is making this song, and it's like, it's okay.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those things where
I agree
have
with
this
you,
belief.
but there is
I don't
a
know
reason
why I
behind
have
it.
this belief.
Yeah.
I was gonna say we're kind of getting up into the hour mark. I didn't know if was there. What else did I want to talk? Oh, okay. So as much as you've taken to shitting on the Steins Gate Zero, did you actually like the final scene? Because I loved it.
Like the final scene where he goes to save Suzuha and Mayuri?
Where he goes into the distant past to save Mayuri because she's stranded.
Yeah, that scene was great. I love that scene. I think it was that was a good note to go off on.
That last scene, especially that last shot where you see him walking away from the time machine.
That's great. That's great.
With the cape blowing in the wind, and he looks at him and says, "Thanks for waiting."
Yeah, that's great.
It's like, that's the fucking Okabe I know.
Yeah, that scene is awesome. I love that scene for sure.
I really wish that, and that scene is very well animated too. It's really well animated.
That scene is great.
If that scene had been, if the entire run of Steins Gate Zero had been animated the same way, it would have been better. Even with all of its story issues that you have, I think even you would have to admit that if Steins Gate Zero had been animated the way that final scene had been animated, it would have been a better experience. Because there are moments throughout Steins Gate Zero where the animation quality dips heavily.
Yeah, but again, it's not only the animation; it's also like it's like the directing is not that interesting. It's pretty bland, and also, I don't know, man. I don't like shitting on this show. I love Steins Gate.
I have an idea.
Okay.
You should play the Steins Gate Zero visual novel, and just for the sake of being able to say whether you think it's genuinely a bad story or a bad adaptation.
Okay. Before we start recording, I looked it up just to make sure, because I was wondering about the original visual novel for Zero. Now, the original Steins Gate game had one director. For some reason, the visual novel for Steins Gate Zero has 4 directors. I don't know, man. That's not a good sign. And from what I can tell, I mean, I was watching the show, you seemed pretty confident it was a pretty good adaptation of the story itself. and I'm not. I don't think I'm going. It's going to change my mind about the story of Zero as a whole. What playing the game, I might give it a shot in the future, because again, visual novels are just not my thing. But I might do it and try. But the anime itself, I don't think it's great, which is a shame. I really wanted it to be awesome, but there's just so many things that just feel so off about it. Yeah,
It's fair enough. I think you should give the visual novel a shot. Though.
Maybe.
You might be pleasantly surprised.
yeah. I'm not saying I won't do it, but like maybe I won't think about it.
So there was one last question I want to end this on.
Sure.
And it's a question I've actually asked myself about Steins Gate, and I don't even think I have an answer for it. Is Steins Gate good science fiction?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Capital YES. Yes.
Capital YES. Oh, I'm glad you put that out there.
Done. Bye.
Give me a Y. Give me an E. I wrestle with this question because like a lot of the quote unquote science that they're using in this is really bad garbage science. But on the other hand, it uses very often used science fiction tropes in very interesting and unique ways.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for that reason alone, I want to say that it's good science fiction.
Not gonna lie, it's probably my favorite rendition of time travel in fiction ever. That whole like skipping time and like going back because you sent a message to yourself. I think that's brilliant. So yeah, maybe the nook and crannies of like how the science itself is like works is kind of bullshit, but the whole idea of it and how it sort of delves into the themes and the story, it just works so well together that I think it's like yeah, no question about it. It's science fiction. It's incredible science fiction.
In time travel stories, you very rarely it's almost always about sending a person or an object back in the past or the future.
Right.
Not information.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that I think Steingate does really well, emphasizing the fact that it's not actually an object or an individual that's being sent to the past. It's like just information.
Yeah. And that's a really cool take on it, I think. That's a very smart one.
Yeah. I'm not, I've always wrestled with that question about whether it's good science fiction or not, just for the fact that if it takes an old idea and does something unique with it, does that alone make it good science fiction? I don't know.
To me, I think it is because, like, sure, maybe the science aspect of it is not the best, but the fiction part of the story more than makes up for it, in my opinion.
Fair enough. All right. Well, do you have any final thoughts on Steins Gate as a whole, as a franchise? Let me ask you this: are you going to play? Oh well, you already said you probably won't, but I'll ask again. Do you think you would play or watch a playthrough of Steins Gate Elite?
Maybe at some other point in time I'll give it a shot, but if I ever do wanna watch a playthrough of it, I can always go to our YouTube channel where you play the original.
Well, I got about halfway through and I haven't done anything since. I need to finish that.
Yeah, you should finish it up.
I really need to finish that playthrough. It's been on hiatus for like 3 months.
Whoa. You taking a page out of Berserk, huh?
Yeah, I know, right? I'm taking the Berserk route with this. Oh my god, there's a fucking Idolmaster game coming out. Someone help us all. All right. Well,
yeah.
Steins
Gate is awesome.
Steins Gate is awesome. I think everyone should give it a try. I certainly understand why some people don't like it. It's a very slow starting show. It's a very slow starting story. But once you get going with it, you're rewarded with something really good at the end.
Yeah.
I'm speaking about the first season.
I know.
All right. I know there was something else I wanted to talk about while we did. So behind the scenes knowledge right here. We've actually been trying to get this scheduled for the last 4 months.
Oh yeah, it's been quite a while.
And we finally got a chance to do it.
Yeah. And I'm happy we did, because like obviously we have different opinions about Zero, but I think it's a healthy discussion to be made.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. That's it. Fuck it. I'm in this. So thank you all out there for dropping into. We've been going for an hour. Thank you all out there for dropping in to listen to us. We hope you enjoyed it because we sure enjoy bringing this stuff to you. If you want to check out previous episodes of the podcast, you can find us on YouTube, iTunes, and SoundCloud. If you want to keep up with what we're doing and have a little more fun, you can join our Discord server, become a member of our Facebook group, follow our Twitch channel, and visit our website. And as always, if you have any questions, comments, criticisms, or concerns on this or any episode, feel free to shoot us an email. Links to all these things will be down below in the description. As always, I have been your host, Alex, and I will see you next time. Say goodnight, Natai.
He's a dude.
Hey, Natai.
Yeah.
You know the best way to end this?
What?
El Psy
Kongroo.